Hello. Good evening.
Good evening.
How you doing today, Mr. Steven?
Doing good.
That's good. That's good.
On here, hang on.
Hello, everyone else.
Hello, just getting everything technical hammered down on our end, so that's why we're still muted.
Okay, no problem. Computer, what is today? Mm-mm. I hope I'm muted. Hello.
Yes, you are here. I can hear
Oh,
you.
sorry. Hold on. Let me mute myself. I was just checking. Sorry.
You okay?
I got chat up.
All right, Stephen, we're all set on our side. Are you still getting things together over there, or?
No, I'm ready. No, I got everything. I'm all set.
Are you going to put your camera up, hon?
Oh.
The
Oh.
YouTube stream?
Oh, hang on. Let me see.
And
See,
Jeff,
I didn't know my camera was off.
Jeff said back your microphone off just a little bit. You're you got quite a bit of feedback going on.
Okay. All right, is that good?
Jeff said that's worse. He said try turning the volume down.
Try turning the volume down. All right, let me see here. There we go.
Much better.
Much better.
There we go. Thank you very much. Thank you. All right, let me see if I can turn my camera on here. Okay.
All right, and if you want to just put your camera down just a scotch so it's not cutting your head off. Beautiful.
All right.
All right, whenever you're ready to start then, sir, we are ready.
All right. All right, hello everyone, our viewers and listeners alike, and I'd like to welcome you guys to our first Unseen Media Subcommittee of the Michigan Association of Blind Students. My name is Stephen Crouch, and I am the Secretary and Lead Chair of Communications, as well as Lead Chair of this Unseen Media Committee. So basically what Unseen Media is, it's in case if you don't know what this subcommittee is, this committee is a committee devoted to any accessible recreational activities such as gaming, movies, sports, anything that is recreational, anything that is within the NFB's code of conduct, we will indeed cover. And so, we had our planning committee, and I thought, we were talking about our discussions on audio description. And so, why not cover a couple parts of this? So today, on Wednesday, April 29th, we are going to be covering the history and evolution of the audio described media. What is it, the history, the evolutions, and I want to get the floor open for participants to discuss their experiences or their highlights, or what you knew or what you didn't know. But before we dive into the movie, to the audio, to our discussions here, for those who don't know, let's read the NFB's pledge. And the National Federation of the Blind's pledge states as thus: I pledge to participate actively in the efforts of the National Federation of the Blind to achieve equality, opportunity, and security for the blind, to support the policies and programs of the Federation, and to abide by its Constitution. So, with that out of the way there, I am going to dive in here on I'm going to, here we go. I'm going to dive in here and talk about what is audio described media. well, since audio described media has been significant through streaming services and throughout, all that in 2026, and we haven't stopped to figure, hey, what is audio described media or TV shows? Well, I'm here to give you that. Audio described media or movies, it can be anything. It could be from movies, TV shows, even some described stuff at museums, parks, plays, etc. But what audio described media is a feature and a service that provides a narrator that provides a narrated track that basically describes visual elements such as actions, facial expressions, and changes and scene changes during natural pauses in dialogue. So basically that covers it within a nutshell of basically what is audio described media. Does anyone I want to get the participants open. Does anybody have any questions on described media?
Hi, Stephen. It's your co-host Danielle. I'd like to jump in really quick if you don't mind.
Go ahead.
Since you did start out by reading the NFB pledge, I would just like to make everyone aware. I'm sure everyone in this room probably already knows being a part of the Federation, but for anyone who's watching this that isn't a part of the Federation, the National Federation of the Blind has actually had quite a hand in audio description, focusing on its implementation and quality through advocacy, resolutions, and technology initiatives like NFB Newsline, which highlights described content. While they have supported audio description, their focus has been often on prioritizing access to on-screen text and ensuring high-quality, detailed descriptions. So I just thought that was pretty interesting, and something everyone should be aware of. We've historically supported efforts to bring audio description to major events, including the presidential inaugurations.
That is very true. Live descriptions has been very significant and everything. So if anyone doesn't have any more questions or discussions about what is audio description, if anyone doesn't have any, I'll move in right into the history of where it began. So, the history. We're going to start out with the early days of live audio description. So before all this dedicated media, live stream platforms, you have streaming service platforms. Before all that, audio description was entirely human driven, experimental, and even local. So yeah, it wasn't all it wasn't really spread around up the par as it was now. So to start with things, starting with the late 1920s, so in 1929, the first recorded instances of an audio described film actually occurred at a screening of Bulldog Drummond in New York, and it was actually a live description. So basically what it was back then, it was a live narrator described the action for members of the New York Association for the Blind and all that. So yeah, just like think of that, live audio description back then was very experimental and was very uncommon back in the 1920s and such. But But fast forwarding to like the radio era here, but throughout the 1940s and 50s, particularly particularly throughout Spain, radio stations would sometimes broadcast live simulcasts of films showing in theaters, effectively turning a movie into a radio drama for those listeners at home. That I didn't even know that. But while the radio drama stuff was going on there, getting into like the 1960s and 70s in there. So, and particularly in the 1960s or 70s, I didn't even know about this, but fans began to create their own solutions such as audio cassettes that provided narration to accompany episodes of Star Trek. Yeah, it was experimental. I didn't even know about that. So, with that, I'm gonna open up the floor and for some audience audience participation, because I didn't even know. What did you know and didn't you know about the era that I discussed? I'm gonna open up the floor now for some discussions. All right. Oh.
I know you're probably going to get there, Stephen, but when you're talking about right now, everything was done by humans.
Yes.
When did things start to move more into machine-driven custom audio description? For example, things like Omni Describer.
So that would be sort of in like the AI stuff, which we'll discuss later on, which we'll discuss later in the show here. But so
Shanice has her hand raised. Go ahead, Shanice. You
can go ahead.
Is there a device that does audio description, like for plays and things like that? My first time learning about like audio descriptive and stuff, I was say 17, teenager, maybe 18, 17, but it was just through working at the library for the blind in Detroit through a summer program, and I still didn't know about it then, because I was just stocking the shelves and stuff. I never Is it a device that like a little radio you could plug up that describes like plays and things? Did you not have to put it in the DVD?
Like for this is Steven. For like actual plays that you attend at the theater?
Yes. Like, is it something audio that describes that where you can hear it at home?
Oh, that is a very good question.
Or do they got something in person like that as well,
I would have to say they might have something in person than at home. They'll probably have like headsets or like little like headsets and stuff, but I'm not sure if Danielle can speak on this, since or Jeff or whatever, since they've attended probably plays where they had a describer describe plays, since I've never really attended a play that had audio description before. I'm kind of gonna let Danielle or Jeff speak on that
Or
if they would.
sorry, or even like the orchestra, like something out like that. Is it any way of having it audio descriptive, to describe it to the people?
So, to answer that question, many theaters and Broadway venues provide specialized audio description devices.
Mm.
They're often similar to assisted listening devices or ALDs. They're like small phone sized receivers to narrate visual aspects of a play for visually impaired patrons. The free devices typically use a single earpiece to provide real time narration without obstructing the show's audio. And to obtain those devices, they would be requested at the accessibility kiosk or coat check. They're usually free of charge, though they do generally ask for an ID or a credit card as collateral.
Okay.
I actually believe that they are using those in a lot of the theaters currently for the Michael Jackson documentary that just came out.
Oh,
Okay, great.
ooh, nice. So, if anyone doesn't have any more discussions or has their hands up, I will move into the academic shift. And so behind what audio description is, so modern audio description is a formalized is like a formal discipline, and that actually began with a man by the name of Gregory Fraser, which he is the father of audio described movie, and he was actually a graduate, a student at San Francisco State University, and he actually proposed and came up with two things: the master's thesis and the haiku approach. And so Mr. Fraser's master thesis uh, proposed that film and TV could be made accessible throughout specific objective scripts that filled the gaps in between dialogue. So the the pauses in the gap of what you're hearing, that is Greg Fraser's theory. Now, the haiku approach, Fraser viewed audio description as an art form succinct and vivid, often comparing it to poetry because it required fitting complex visual information into the briefest of pauses. You are hearing Fraser's theory right in between the you're hearing Fraser's theory, his thesis, and his haiku, his stuff right in the gaps of the narration. And so I'm going to open up the floor and see, and for some participant engagement here. Was there something that you got out of that? Okay. Well, if anyone doesn't have anything, I'm going to move right into the television era, into the Washington year. So the 1980s saw the transition from the theory of Greg Fraser to broadcast technology. So it was made from the thesis and the haiku approach from Fraser into the reality of broadcasting technology. And we're going to move into the metropolitan metropolitan Washington ear, that was done in 1981. And so, actually, the mother of audio described media, her name is Dr. Margaret Fansteel, and she pioneered the talking pictorially technique for live theater in DC. She and her husband, Cody, are credited with standardizing the art of describing visual elements during natural pauses in dialogue. So not only you're hearing Greg Fraser's work and coming up with that solution, but you're hearing Margaret Fansteel's actual happenings and with her pictorially technique, and you're actually hearing that, which that's crazy. I didn't even know that. But somewhere in the midst of all that, between the mid 1980s and the early 1990s, the Public Broadcasting Service, or PBS station, which the station was called, you might have heard it, and if you might, you guys might have heard it in the end credits of an audio described film, but if you haven't heard, if it rings a bell to you, WGBH in Boston was the broadcasting station, and they launched the descriptive video service, or as widely known as DVS. They utilized the secondary, they did besides providing cassettes, because I remember a lot of people getting cassettes through DVS or through their library through DVS, and man, those cassettes, they were in like a 1-foot case, and they had like clasps around the case, but you lift it up, and in the center was like a cassette, specifically a VCR cassette, which I'm not sure if you young people know what a VCR is, but VCRs is a device that went along with your TV that you could run through the TV, and you can play video cassettes. But DVS usually provided those cassettes with pre-recorded tracks. And as for TV, what they did too, as for television, they utilized the secondary audio program, or the SAP channel, which that may sound familiar to you guys, because on modern TV, if you do have the TV provider, you may have a SAP button that is typically on your TV provider's remote, or it may be in your language or your audio or your subtitle settings within your TV. So that's the SAP channel. In fact, the SAP channel is the same. They have the same technology that they used. Like they did utilize. It is the same channel, in fact, that has Spanish speaking dubs over a particular channel. And so the audio description aspect was there with the SAP feature to give to deliver descriptions to home viewers, or to blind and low vision users at home. And that in and on itself was just amazing. Just witnessing that from Fraser to Fansteel to DVS doing like video cassettes into the SAP channel. That's amazing. I'm going to open up the floor now for some audience participation. What do you guys remember about DVS? What is your experience with DVS or the SAP channel? What do you guys know or didn't know about Margaret Fanchdeal or whatever? So, yeah.
I never heard of the SAP channel. How is that accessed? The SAP channel.
Steven, so the SAP channel can be, I know on your TV provider remotes, there is typically a SAP button on your remote. Or if you do have a voice activated remote, you can push the voice prompt down and say, hey, turn on audio describe mode, turn on video descriptions. So that is how you utilize turning on and off the SAP feature. Or, that's how you enable the SAP feature on your TV provider's channel or the feature or whatnot. But yes.
Thank you.
No problem. Anyone
Just
else?
make sure that you turn it off after you're done using it, because they do use that channel as well for Spanish.
Yes.
So if you're watching something that does not have an audio description track, you will, it's a good way to learn Spanish.
Sure is. So, yeah, great deal, So if anyone else doesn't have any questions or comments or your experiences with DVS or whatnot, I'm going to move into the cinema integration between 1990 and the 2000s. So the first major films, while experimental screenings existed, like DVS and with like Margaret Fanchdeal and her theater stuff, it was still experimental at the time. It had not yet gotten off the shelf or had not gotten off the ground quite yet. But the mid 1990s saw a push for mainstream theatrical access. Like, for an example, Forrest Gump, The Miracle Worker, It's a Wonderful Life, or American Playhouse. I think it was called American Playhouse. It was a hand-picked few that was one of the first major motion pictures and TV shows to be widely available with a descriptive track. And so I'm going to talk about Theater Vision here. And Theater Vision was founded by Gregory Frazier. Again, the man who was the graduate at San Francisco State University. Again, the man who proposed the master's thesis and the haiku approach. But what Theater Vision was that it was an organization that worked with Hollywood to create tracks for blockbusters. And no, if you're asking what blockbusters is, it's it's not the DVD rental store here we're talking about, folks. What the blockbuster here that I'm talking about is like movie classic stuff that was powerful and that made a landmark. And so high profile figures, including the former president, I believe he was the 41st president of the United States, George H.W. Bush. He even voiced he even voiced descriptions for classic films like It's a Wonderful Life, and I didn't believe it until I took a listen to it. Think it was like a day or two ago, and I was blown, man. I couldn't believe that, and I was pretty much blown away that a former president would describe a film for the blind and low vision users out there, and yeah, it was like truly amazing and everything. So um, but pertaining to personal devices, I know Shanice was you was on about personal devices and whatnot, but in the early 2000s, movie theaters began installing systems like DTS or CSS technology that, like Danielle said, like these devices allowed blind and low vision users to listen to audio description through wireless headsets and receivers to ensure that they can get the best possible listening experience within that mix. And so yeah, they could sit anywhere within the movie theater without without the distraction of other patrons or having to bend down and bend down and hear and like, hey, psst, name this scene or describe this or name that. You actually had headsets there, and so yeah. So, does anyone have any questions or their experiences with movie theater headsets or anything of what I just said? I'm going to open the floor for comments or questions, or you knows or you didn't knows. But yep, the floor is your guys's. Yep. Anyone have anything? Comment on YouTube.
Nothing over here. Shanice, Roman. I'm not sure who that is under iPhone. I don't know who that is, but if any of you have anything you want to add or any questions you might have.
Please don't hesitate. Ask any questions.
Is there a way that you could purchase the ear things for the descriptive video yourself from somewhere?
So
I'm not sure. I did not see anything about that. I would guess probably not. And if you could, I would assume it would be very pricey. That's something we could do a little searching on for Steven's part 2, but off the top of my head, those would be my guesses.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
yeah, it kind of leans towards probably not, but if you're looking to go if you're looking to go see a movie to get a headset or a receiver headset at the theaters, I would call guest services and look up if the actual movie is described and have the guest services over there at your particular theater to go test their stuff out to see if their audio description there at the theaters is basically up to par. So yeah, my guess is that, yeah. So if anyone doesn't have any more questions or discussion, we'll move into the digital and the legal revolution in 2010. So, I'm going to talk about a little bit of the CVAA in a nutshell, and if Jeff wants to talk about a little more about the CVAA, he is more welcomed to do so. In case if
I,
you're not sure, yes.
oops, sorry. Oh,
Oh, you're fine. But yeah, but in case if you didn't know, Jeff is the president of the Michigan Association of Blind Students and chair of the advocacy committee. But let's journey into the CVAA. So the 21st Century Communications and Video Accessibility Act, or CVAA, was a landmark piece of U.S. legislation. In fact, it got passed, and this and this and this legislation mandated audio descriptions or mandated audio description for major broadcast networks and certain cable channels and features that are on your phones, and therefore. So I'm going to open it up for discussion. If anyone wants to talk more about the CVAA, go ahead.
I'm going to jump in here so that you don't have to put this in your next your part two, Stephen. I did
Go ahead.
some Googling while you were talking.
All right.
I can let you know that, yes, you can purchase these specialized audio description headsets and related assistive technology for personal use, though they are often sold as professional grade equipment for venues.
Right.
Some manufacturers sell the exact infrared, IR, or radio frequency RF headsets used in theaters. These are useful if you frequent a specific venue that allows personal equipment, or if you're setting up a private screening area within your home. They start at $129 for a set. Sorry, our cats are going a little crazy in the background. They say they want the headsets. Um, it's and that is for the common theater style headset that receives both HI, hearing impaired, and AD, audio description channels. They're portable kits. They include a transmitter and a receiver and are used for live performances or sporting events. You wouldn't be able to use them, though, without also having access to the program that the theaters or the movie theaters or the play venues use along with those headsets. So in my opinion, it wouldn't be worth the price, because if you go to a movie theater or somewhere to watch a play or a live performance, if they have that technology, they're gonna have the headsets. If they don't have the headsets, they're probably not paying for that technology. So you'd end up having a headset that wouldn't be transmitting anything to you. So they say for personal home use, most people don't use the specialized headset. Instead, they rely on standard headphones paired with accessible software or apps. Accessibility apps such as Spectrum Access app, which is available for free to everyone, provides audio description tracks that sync with your phone's microphone to the movie playing on your TV. You have built-in TV features. Most modern smart TVs and streaming services such as Netflix, Disney Plus, and Prime Video have built-in audio description setting that works with any standard pair of headphones as well as the speakers on your TV. There's also wearable AI readers. Devices like the Orcam or Envision smart glasses can clip onto glasses and provide real-time audio description of your surroundings. And then you have things like the Victor Reader Stream, which is a handheld media player that supports specialized formats like DAISY and can play files with audio descriptions.
Yeah.
If you're looking for personalized demonstrations or professional advice on which device would fit your specific visual needs, there are local specialists. Hearing Life of Portage, Michigan, and BSBP. I'm sure we're all very familiar with that second one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Definitely. So, if anyone doesn't have any more discussions, or if you want to go a tad bit into the CVAA, you can. I'm just leaving the floor open for more a little bit if anyone wants to talk about that in depth more or whatnot. But okay. Well, if anyone doesn't have any more questions or discuss, I'm gonna get into the streaming giants here. So in 2015, particularly Netflix. Netflix released one of its first audio described titles, and that was Daredevil, and that followed some advocacy from the blind community. So today, streaming platforms like Hulu, HBO, or Max, Disney Plus, Paramount, Netflix, the works. Today's streaming platforms are the primary drivers of audio description. Mostly, that sometimes, not always, but typically, the majority is there, but that would offer descriptions into multiple language. For instance, TV shows, yeah, they provide different languages like English, German. They provide different.
Go up in her room and make her eat her own.
They would make like like they would make TV shows, not only their audio description into English, but they would make audio descriptions into Portuguese, Spanish, German, the likes. I've seen a few of them, and yeah, that's crazy. They can interpret that, and yeah, they can interpret that into their own language with audio descriptions within their streaming services. So if anyone has any questions about any streaming services, or what's out there, or I'm opening the floor to you guys. So
Shanice speaking. What
go
is a
ahead.
good streaming service that has the descriptive videos if you don't have up to date TV?
Oh, good question. So if you're not particularly looking for any subscriptions or whatever, I would go with Tubi. It has its own dedication audio description with under Tubi. Not all of its not all of its content, but there are some out there that is audio described within Tubi, so that is a free streaming service, I believe. So yeah.
Okay. That's great to know.
Yeah, no problem. Anyone else? YouTube have comments?
Nothing over here. We're good on this end.
Alrighto. So, my last piece here is the future. Predicting the future. AI and the real-time description. right now, right here, right now, we're living in a current transition period where human artistry meets automated efficiency, AI and current. And what I mean by that, there are three things. There's text to speech, computer vision, and the human touch. Capturing of the human touch behind audio descriptions. And the first thing here would be is the synthetic voice or the synthesized voice. So lately, and I've heard this going on too, streaming services are currently experimenting with AI generated text to speech or TTS to describe their current line of niche audio described content or their legacy content that has not been described by a human, that would soon to be described by text to speech. It's a way to make it more affordable instead of having a human narrator go into the studio or or working remotely and just audio describe and just it takes time with the narrator audio just describing a lot of content, and it can cost. And so with with stuff like with streaming services and with AI definitely on the rise, I bet you somewhere somewhere in the world somebody's putting the script to text to speech right now as we're speaking, and yeah, and they're using that and a lot of times. So my next subpart into this is computer vision. So emerging AI models like Google's Gemini with their Google AI Studio, or the Gemini itself, or Microsoft's Seeing AI, or like Meta, or with their like Meta glasses, or Be My AI, or with with the Envision glasses, or with these third-party apps that are coming in. They're beginning to watch videos in real time and generate an actual description of what you're watching on the fly, and that potentially opens up billions of avenues, billions of opportunities that you haven't seen before in previous inaccessible videos on YouTube and TikTok and Facebook, and turning them into actual descriptions. You can actually go onto, for instance, Google AI Studio and just for instance on YouTube, and turn your screen into full screen and have it actually generate a description, which I think I was playing around with Google AI Studio I think like a year or two ago, and just imagine today if I was to use it today. It was if it's still available now, Google AI Studio, which knowing Google, it's still available, but that's truly amazing in on itself. And the last part here is the human touch debate. So a major focus right here, right now, is the balance between AI efficiency and like the reality of the human audio description and the emotion, AI emotion versus human-driven emotion behind audio descriptions. And many and while like AI can identify objects that the human narrator or can't really spot, or that the script or that that someone who's writing that script can't see. Some may argue that only a human can truly capture the mood and subtext of a scene. And so, yeah, I think human driven narration is just as well deserve. We still need that as much as AI. It's human narration is just as wonderful as just as like AI looking at stuff and just describing stuff. So I'm going to open up the floor to everyone here. And so, what is your predictions going into the future? What's audio description? I wonder from you guys, YouTube and on Zoom, whatever. What is audio description going to be like in 3 to 5 to 10 to 15 years from now? I want to hear it from you guys. What is it like? What will it be like?
I personally, I think it needs to be both together. I can think of a funny story where myself and Jeff and Robert Parsons and a friend of ours were all together. Two of our friends were all together for Halloween, and we were binge watching horror movies for Halloween. And we were watching through Netflix, weren't we, Jeff?
Mm-hmm.
And it was a human audio description. And the movie starts, and the human audio describer says, and a picture of the 7 condiments comes across the screen. And she meant continents. When she
Oh,
said condiment, we all died. And then throughout the whole movie, this was still when I had decent vision. So through the whole movie, I kept going, what is she talking about? Because she'd be like, she removed, the character removes 2 packing peanuts from a box. And I was like, dude, she just dumped like 400 packing peanuts on the floor. Where did she get this from? And then she would like take a left and describe things that the rest of the room was like, I don't care that her dress is pink with red poke. Who cares? Or giving away jump scares way before the jump scare happens, so it's kind of ruined. So I do think that AI has no emotion and no feeling, and so therefore I agree the human touch is needed.
yeah.
But I do think it's more consistent and reliable to not make those whoopsie-doos. So I think if you merge human touch with AI, I think that's where you'll end up finding like the best of both worlds. And I hope that that's where it goes, because I think um, obviously we're all very thankful to have audio description. Um, but I do wish that a lot of the hiccups that it still has, that they would work on ironing those out, because sometimes you watch a really packed action movie. What was the one that I told you about that I watched with Liam? Suicide Squad? Yeah.
Oh, good
I
one.
don't know if you guys have ever watched that, but it's super, super action packed hero movie. Um, and by the end of the movie, we all felt nauseous and had migraines, because the action was so loud and nonstop. And then you had the music and the sound effects and the dialogue competing with the audio description. And, so it's little things that need to be tweaked to make it a better viewing experience for people who need that description.
Exactly. So it's almost getting to oh wow, we've almost reached the hour here. Wow, time flies here. So does anyone have any questions, of what I've just covered, or any like last minute questions before we close down or adjourn? You know,
Well, hearing none, I would just like to say on behalf of the division, thank you very much for this walk down memory lane for some of us and history lane for others, kind of giving everybody an overview of past, present, and possible future of audio description. I think you did an excellent job, Stephen. It was very informative. I found it super interesting. And I know, the people who watch it on replay, you're going to really open a lot of, no pun intended, eyes to people who aren't blind, who maybe have no clue about this. And now a whole new world is going to be opened up for them. And maybe they're going to understand things a bit better. And I think that's fabulous. And I'm very excited for part 2. Everybody make sure that you stay tuned next month for Stephen's next Unseen Media, where he's going to do part 2. You want to tease what's going to be in part 2 before we leave, Stephen?
I sure am. So part 2, we are going to look at resources on how to find your on how to find a described movie. There may be a little demonstration there on a TV that that I do have. It's a Google Smart TV. I don't know. You guys might get to see a demonstration with talkback and navigating the screen and getting all that, and we're searching a described movie out there. You don't know what's to come, so please attend part 2. So for those who are watching on social media or like YouTube there, for those who have, we do have social media. We do have Facebook, X, Mastodon, YouTube, which you're watching this on now. We Instagram, TikTok, Mastodon, and we do have a blog on WordPress. So if anyone on Facebook if anyone on here who has Facebook or X, the archive of part 1 will be shared to Facebook and X. So just to let you guys know that. So, yep.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. And I just want to thank everyone who came and joined us this evening. If you guys liked what you heard, make sure you come back next month. Share this information with your friends. Let's get more people in here so we can have more conversations. And yeah, round of applause, Stephen. You did a great job. One and done, sir. Very good. One under the books. Let's see what you do next time.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you guys for, once again, thank you guys for attending this Unseen Media live event for Wednesday, April 29th. We look forward to seeing you in part 2. As always, I'm Stephen Crouch, Secretary of the Michigan Association of Blind Students and lead chair of Unseen Media. And as always, thank you. And as always,